This is Lesson 2 of Writing Reports, Evaluations, and Funding Requests. It focuses on writing outlines and initial drafts. There's 3 steps that I'll be talking about today. Step 1 is outline the report. Step 2 is link the review of the literature to the outline. And Step 3 is describe, synthesize, analyze, and persuade. This lesson is based upon the work that you did in Writing Lab 1. And it will take the literature that you found in Writing Lab 1 and how you put it together and help you to logically organize your report. So first, take a moment to review what you wrote in the first Writing Lab. What was your topic? What was your purpose? How did you answer the question, what do you need to do to accomplish the purpose of this report? And how did the literature that you found either change the purpose or points that you were going to make, or help you communicate different points or support the points that you decided upon? You want to use this information to outline what you will say in the report or proposal. So why outline? Outlines help you to organize your thoughts and consider what you need to say in the report. Outlines give you an overview of the report and help connect all parts to the report's purpose. Outlines should also be flexible. They help you begin writing, but as you begin to write, often the outline will change as you write, as you decide different things need to go in different places, or you need to add or subtract information. There's a number of different ways to outline. This slide shows 2 examples. The left-hand example just shows an introduction, a body, and conclusion for your report. The introduction talks about topic and purpose and overview, while the body may talk about definitions, the research supporting the purpose, and the analysis supporting the purpose. The conclusion will say how the purpose should be accomplished and the implications and why the reader should agree. The same content is in the right-hand side. It's just set up a little bit differently. It uses Roman numerals and capital letters, and could even get a little bit more detailed using numbers under each capital letter. But it starts with a topic and purpose. You may want to talk about prevalence and need and the reason for the report. The second point is where you begin the body of the report. It's the first point supporting your purpose. You describe it and the research that supports it. Then number 3 is you repeat the points as needed. And again, you end with conclusions that summarize your analysis and talk about the implications. You then want to link the literature that you found with your outline. What literature fits with what points? And do you need more literature? Once again, review the table that you prepared for the first Writing Lab. What literature supports the points that you're making in the paper? What points don't you yet have support for? You want to note in your outline which literature fits, because when you start writing, it will give you an opportunity to say, okay, I need to go to this particular article or report in order to get the information that I want to write at this point in my paper. Consider whether you need to add or subtract points in your outline. Add the things that will strengthen your report and subtract the things that are not clearly relevant to your report's purpose. Here's a number of tips about writing a literature review, which is a part of most reports. The literature review is everything that's been published about the topic already. Maybe not everything, but certainly a representative sample. What do we already know, and how is it going to relate to what you ultimately want to propose? You start with a thesis, which is similar to the purpose that we've talked about overall for the report. Or it could be a hypothesis that you want to test. You want to synthesize the literature about your topic. Don't just describe what others have said. Practical tip is you want to organize your points conceptually, not by the author that said them. So if you're talking about a particular area in your topic, and author A says X and Y, and author B says Y and Z, and author C says X and Z, rather than present what each of these authors says in turn, it helps to organize by the topic. So you'd say that there are three important aspects. X is one aspect, and then you cite author A and C. Y is another aspect, and then you cite A and B. And Z is the third aspect, and then you cite B and C. That's going to make your presentation stronger and easier to follow. You need to analyze the validity, the relevance, the meaning, and the context of the literature that you're citing. Don't only present the conclusions of other authors, saying, okay, Smith says that this is the best way to proceed. Well, that leaves the reader wondering, well, how did Smith reach that conclusion? So you need to explain how other authors have reached their conclusion. And part of that is you need to explain why you as a writer feel that that's an important conclusion to put in your report. Some more tips. Identify gaps in the literature and suggest methods for resolving those gaps. Communicating your analysis of what might answer those gaps is stronger than only saying that more research is needed. Anybody can say that. You want to give a suggestion about what might the research be focused on, or what might the research look for. Use quotations sparingly. Summarizing and paraphrasing is much more effective. Reports are not about just taking a number of quotations from other sources and putting them all together. It's about identifying what you as the writer want to communicate and how that is supported by what you've read in the literature. The literature review should add to knowledge about the topic, not just summarize what everyone else has already said. So you want to synthesize, you want to bring together, and your analysis is going to identify the themes that come from multiple sources and what makes sense versus what doesn't make sense. That's what you are writing. The third step is describing, synthesizing, analyzing, and persuading. So the thing is you are describing what the literature says, synthesizing multiple sources, analyzing it, and then persuading the reader to agree. Descriptive writing is a style of writing that describes what others have written or what has been observed. It tends to be objective and neutral. It doesn't add your interpretation in there. You may summarize, rearrange, or categorize the source, but you're really presenting what the source says without putting your analysis in yet. It focuses on what is present rather than what is omitted, because if you focus on what isn't there, then you are basically communicating that you think that there's something that should have been there. So descriptive writing is used to report, to identify, to summarize information, to present data collected from research or from client assessment. It's used to describe information, which is the basis for your conclusions. Synthesis writing is when you accurately report information from different sources. You compare and you contrast. It combines information in new ways. It organizes by topic rather than by source. It raises questions. It leads to interpretation, analysis, or conclusions. So you're bringing together information coming from a number of different sources, and you're putting together so that you're describing something that's stronger than a statement coming from an individual source. You use synthesis writing to summarize information, gathered from those multiple sources to suggest an essential premise, thesis, or meaning of diverse information. You want to present innovative ideas that expand information and conclusions from the sources. You want to put your, by the sources that you choose and the way that you bring them together, you're saying something that goes above and beyond what the original sources said. You want to focus on concepts, findings, or conclusions rather than on who said or found or reported those findings or conclusions. Analysis writing is about analyzing the purpose, the expertise, the conclusions, the methodology, the relevance of what you read. It evaluates the presentation of ideas, their impact, and the implications that they have. Analysis evaluates the validity, the meaning, the context, and the relevance of the cited authors, or in some cases, what the behavior that's being observed. It questions what is stated. There's a number of questions that fit with critical analysis. What is the purpose of the statement? Does the author provide relevant and accurate information? What concepts and assumptions are presented? Are inferences logical and sensible? What is the author's point of view? Is the author sensitive to the implications of her or his position? You use analysis writing to examine, question, or evaluate research. Use it in evaluating data collection or observations. You use it to compare approaches, methods, or performance, to make a recommendation, and to discuss effectiveness. Persuasive writing convinces others to agree with our facts, to share our values, to accept our arguments or conclusions. Writing persuasively means establishing relevant facts or values, raising important questions, prioritizing or sequencing in a logical way, either from simple to complex, or how influencing factors lead to a conclusion, or stating a conclusion and then following it by the facts that support it or provide evidence for it. Persuasive writing means clearly stating a request or recommendation. Don't just present your conclusions and expect the reader to agree. You need to explain why the reader should agree. Persuasively writing also makes sure that you've answered that so what question. Writing persuasively means that you're communicating your confidence. It means saying something that your confidence is important, that it's something that the reader should agree with. You use persuasive writing to advocate, to recommend, to request. Recommend what? Things like social policy, or request funding or resources. You also use persuasive writing when you're seeking employment or promotion. Most professional writing uses descriptive, synthesis, analysis, and persuasive writing styles. Professional reports or proposals help you to describe a situation or an issue, to synthesize multiple sources of information about the issue or situation, to use an analysis to reach a conclusion, and to persuade a reader to agree with the recommendations. If you think about it, all reports are going to go through each of those steps. So this is the end of Lesson 2. Review the following example and then practice what you've learned. The next section presents an example of a report about a teen anger management group. It illustrates the 3 steps in this lesson and shows you a way that you can complete the Lesson 2 Writing Lab. After you've looked at the example and heard about it, consider what you've learned, the ideas that you wrote down during this lesson, and then complete the Lesson 2 Writing Lab.